Welcome to the Art of Dress. Today it is my very great pleasure to show you some of the secrets of the color wheel and explain to you what they mean for you in your everyday life. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for subscribing. This is a thank you video for 5,000 subscribers. When you see a depiction of the elements as you see here, fire, water, air, and earth, you might not think to connect that with a color wheel. But in fact, I'd like to show you some of the ways that the elements do connect to the color wheel and why that has meaning for you. If you have been watching the color videos, you realize that this element wheel of color contains the prime colors of all human beings. One of 12. One of the 12 colors belongs to each person as a prime color. But in addition to that, the colors group themselves according to their elements, according to fire, red, orange, and red, ruby red, orange, red, and yellow. Also air, the greens. Also water, the blues, and then we have really the magentas along with purple, and these are the earth colors. Now, if you look at this color wheel from another standpoint, you will also see that it is actually like a record of our planetary evolution. Let's start with when our Earth began. So, the idea is that our Earth began as a ball of fire, more or less, as a fiery mass. And so these are the colors and the experience of fire, the intense heat, and also the warmth that you see. Now, the clarity is there for the brighter colors, but there's also the presence of black, which is the prime neutral for fire colors. Then when some densification had occurred, some condensation, what we have is basically a state of gas or air. And then what happens from a color standpoint is the colors lighten and they become more muted and also still warm. When further solidification takes place, further condensation, you have a state of water. And the water colors, of course, reflect this by being clear and light and also cool. And the last stage of solidification, of condensation, is earth. And so here is a representative kind of burgundy color that really shows the idea of the mountain ranges and also all of the fruits of the earth, like grapes and plums and pomegranates and many others. When we start with burgundy, burgundy is kind of the end of the color wheel. It also brings us to a very special flower. This is one version, of course, but this flower is called the Christmas rose. And you can see that this lovely burgundy color could be, and in fact is, a very beautiful addition to the month of Christmas, basically starting with December 21st and moving to the end of January, middle to end, to say around the zodiac, January 20th. And the color on the wheel that we move to then is plum. So here is the color of a clearish version, but the bright, beautiful, muted magenta color of plum that is also the color that we often use for Valentine's Day. And then moving to the next color on the color wheel, we arrive at grape, which is the color of the darkest days of winter. The darkest days are just before the dawn, and this is the color of that almost nighttime feeling of late winter. And then when spring comes, and we're talking now March 21st to say April 20th, the color awakens, so to speak, into the color of periwinkle, or you may know it as vinca. This is one of the very first blooms of springtime, and it's this violet blue, the color from our wheel that we call violet. And after this, we go from April to May, from April, say, 21st to May 20th, more or less. The days are not exact. And here we have the forget-me-nots of this month of May and the sky blue color of May. And then finally we go from the end of May to the end of June, and what we have is basically robin's egg. And all many birds who are nesting now, and their eggs are this lovely aqua blue color. And so now we hit the solstice, the summer solstice. And now what happens is all of the greens start to ripen and become evident. And we start actually with the bluer greens. And you see here Celadon, the color of the month of really end of June and July. Very lovely. And then the colors of green really come into their fullness. They ripen, so to speak, and you have this entire array of greens, but centered around the ochres, and also you might think of them as the emeralds. And these are the beautiful colors of summertime. And then as summer comes towards the end, the air is very hot. Usually the colors are fading. You have this really soft feeling to the air, everything very muted and almost like still. And this is the color that we have, the color of olive. And the color of olive takes us from the end of from the end of August until the end of September. And when we get to September, now we're talking about another equinox, the September equinox. And so what happens is the light changes drastically. And when the light changes, this is what we see, the golden light of the end of September, early October. And it's like the yellow leaves start to come out, and it's brilliant. It's just so beautiful. And then when we move from the end of October until say October 21st until November, now we see orange and orange red. And the oranges wake us up with this brilliant display of the leaves changing. So beautiful. And also we use orange to celebrate Halloween, of course, which falls in this month. And finally, the last color of the wheel here is the color that comes at the very end, from November, end of November into December. And what we have is ruby, the oak trees and the late changing trees with their scarlets, so gorgeous. And so what you see is that each of the prime colors celebrates a month of the year. And the last one I want to show you is one more when we get to the end of December, December 21st. Here we are again, back to burgundy, this beautiful color to accompany the very end of December and into the new year. So not only does the color wheel give you a prime color and your whole personal color wheel and your style color, but it also gives you a color month. And in that month, your color is at its most glorious. It doesn't only look good to your eye, it looks good to everyone. And another thing you can do with this color wheel is you can use it to set up a nature table in your home, or maybe your dining room or your kitchen table, or any place that works for you where you have the light, you can see the light changing, and you can make a display of these colors and see for yourself how, as the light changes, the colors are illuminated one by one in their full beauty. So the color wheel of humanity, the universal color wheel for all humans, is also the color wheel of the elements. It's the color wheel of our planetary evolution. It's the color wheel of the months of the year, and it's a color wheel that celebrates your prime color in one complete month where it is at its absolute most beautiful, something for you to celebrate as well. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for subscribing. Please take care.